In this explainer, you're going to learn exactly how modern organizations use JIT, TQM, Kaizen, Throughput accounting, business process reengineering, and supply chain management to reduce costs, improve quality, eliminate waste, and increase profitability so you can confidently answer CIMA P2 exam questions and pass your exam. Welcome back. Today we are conquering Chapter 2, the modern business environment.
So let's just dive right in. We're exploring the major methodologies used by world-class organizations to achieve extreme efficiency. If you've ever found yourself wondering how the biggest companies manage to simultaneously slash costs, completely eliminate waste, and improve quality, all without falling apart at the seams, well, you are in the exact right place.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We've got 6 main stops. First up, the modern business environment. Then, world-class manufacturing and TQM, followed by the theory of constraints. After that, we'll pit Kaizen Costing against BPR, dive into supply chains and JIT, and wrap it all up with some essential exam prep and comparisons. Let's do this!
Section 1. The modern business environment. Let's call this one the villain of profitability. Think of these modern challenges as the antagonist of our story. These are the forces that literally compel companies to completely rethink traditional management accounting.
You know, we're dealing with a market right now where you absolutely cannot rely on domestic borders to protect you from global competition anymore. It's just not going to happen. Product life cycles are incredibly short, and rapid digital transformation from giants like, say, Apple or Amazon means customer expectations are just sky high. Standard costing totally fails here. And why is that? Well, because you can't spend months setting standard costs when your product's entire life cycle is maybe only a year long. The environment demands new, hyper-flexible accounting practices.
Moving on to Section 2, World-Class Manufacturing and TQM. These are our heroes, getting it right the first time. To fight back against those severe cost pressures we just talked about, companies adopt world-class manufacturing. It's an entire philosophy built on continuous improvement, relentless innovation, and first-class customer service.
And the absolute cornerstone of that philosophy, total quality management, or TQM. The crucial thing to remember here is that quality simply means fitness for purpose. Now, TQM represents a massive, massive shift in thinking. Instead of just inspecting goods at the very end of the line and tossing out the bad ones, TQM actively prevents defects right at the source. It empowers workers, gets them multi-skilled, and makes them strictly responsible for their own output. The ultimate non-negotiable goal? Zero defects.
All right, pay attention here because this brings us to a highly testable area for your exam, the cost of quality framework. TQM breaks quality costs into 4 distinct categories. You've got prevention and appraisal. These are the costs of good quality, the things you actually control. Then you have internal and external failures. These are the costs of poor quality, basically the consequences of getting it wrong. So TQM operates on the assumption that if you spend a bit more on prevention and appraisal up front, you will naturally drive down those painful internal and external failure costs, saving you a massive amount of money in the long run. In fact, many experts argue that under TQM, quality is free, because the savings from eliminating failures easily pay for the prevention programs themselves. Let's apply this directly to some actual exam scenarios, okay? Training your staff in quality control? That is a prevention cost. Inspecting goods as they arrive at the warehouse? That's an appraisal cost. But what if you have to sell sub-quality goods at a markdown price? Well, that is an internal failure cost. And if the customer actually finds the defect and calls your service center, boom, that's an external failure. You really need to memorize these distinctions, guys, because examiners absolutely love to test them.
Okay, Section 3, the theory of constraints, or managing the bottleneck. Let's look at our next hero and see how we can build a production system entirely around your most limited, frustrating resource.
Developed by Eliyahu Goldratt, the theory of constraints is essentially a 5-step procedure. First off, a bottleneck is simply a facility or machine that has a lower capacity than the activities around it. It's kind of like the slowest kid in the class. Goldratt argues that the entire factory must operate strictly at the pace of this bottleneck. Think about it. If the machines before the bottleneck work faster than the bottleneck itself, you aren't making more products. You're just building up a massive pile of useless, expensive inventory. So the steps are, you identify the bottleneck, exploit it to its absolute maximum capacity, subordinate every other process to perfectly match its slower pace, and then eventually you invest money to elevate or fix it.
And this concept brilliantly sets up the underlying principles of throughput accounting. In this system, inventory is the enemy, period. It costs money and storage space, it ties up your capital and interest, it's just bad news.
Therefore, the only inventory you should ever hold is a tiny little buffer right before the binding constraint, just to make absolutely sure that bottleneck never ever runs out of work.
All right, lean in for this one, because here is a massive CIMA P2 Tutor tip. Throughput accounting assumes that direct materials are the only true variable cost. I'm going to repeat that. Only materials. Traditional accounting might try to tell you labor is variable, but in a modern, automated factory, labor is largely a fixed cost. So to calculate your throughput contribution, you simply take your sales and subtract your material costs. That's it. To maximize your profit, you rank your products based on which one generates the highest return per hour on that specific bottleneck resource. Seriously, do not fall into the classic exam trap of subtracting labor costs here.
On to Section 4, Kaizen Costing versus BPR, incremental versus radical change. We're going to compare two vastly different cost transformation methodologies now, and examiners love asking you to contrast these two.
Let's kick this off with Kaizen. Famously used by Japanese automakers like Daihatsu, Kaizen essentially translates to continuous improvement. Now, unlike target costing, which happens way earlier during the design phase, Kaizen happens right there during the manufacturing stage. It sets an actual cost as a baseline, and then it empowers every single employee on the factory floor to make small, continuous cost reductions month over month. It's a real team effort.
So how do they actually compare? Well, while Kaizen focuses on those tiny incremental tweaks from the bottom up to continuously tighten standards, business process reengineering, or BPR, is the exact opposite. BPR is a radical, fundamental rethinking of business processes. We're talking about tearing the house down and building it from scratch, usually enabled by some new digital technology. The goal is to achieve massive, transformational cost reductions and eliminate non-value-adding activities entirely. To put it simply, Kaizen is a surgical scalpel, BPR is a sledgehammer.
Now for Section 5, Supply Chains and JIT. Let's talk about eliminating waste. We need to see exactly how just-in-time, or JIT production, relies heavily on a perfectly optimized supply chain management system to create customer value.
JIT operates on what we call a pull system, meaning you only produce finished goods when a customer is actually waiting for them. No stockpiling. This requires incredibly close relationships with your suppliers because you need smaller, highly reliable, and very frequent deliveries of raw materials right to the manufacturing cell. So the really crucial point to grasp here is that JIT completely eliminates the safety net of inventory. If a supplier is late or even one part is defective, the whole production line stops, literally grinds to a halt. This is exactly why JIT absolutely must be paired with flawless total quality management and totally transparent information sharing across your entire supply chain.
Finally, Section 6, Exam Prep and Comparisons, tying it all together. Okay, let's consolidate everything we've learned into a high-yield comparison matrix to ensure you are perfectly prepared for those mandatory syllabus questions. Take a mental snapshot of this. Understanding how each unique approach impacts efficiency, inventory, and cost is quite literally how you are going to pass your exam. Look at JIT. It targets inventory holding costs by producing strictly on demand. TQM shifts your cost toward prevention so you completely eliminate rework. Kaizen relies on your employees for daily incremental savings, while BPR fundamentally redesigns the whole flow for massive structural reductions.
As you head into your practice questions, I want you to ask yourself this. If you were hired tomorrow to save a failing manufacturing plant, would you use the surgical scalpel of Kaizen, or would you swing the sledgehammer of BPR? Your choice could be the very difference between skyrocketing profit and total bankruptcy. Trust your newly structured knowledge of the modern business environment? Keep studying hard, and we'll see you in the next explainer.